News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and now 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
The shooting was justified. Good morning, everyone. It's Montana Morning. It is Wednesday, January 14th, 2015. Right now we have a mostly clear sky. There is some fog in the area. It's 19 degrees in western Montana right now. Newscast this morning sponsored by Dr. Troy Doxey and the friendly team at Chiropractic Works, where they're dedicated to chiropractic solutions. The shooting that occurred on New Year's Eve near Evero involving Sheriff's Captain Tony Rio was ruled to be justified yesterday by Missoula County Attorney Kirsten Pabst. I spoke with her yesterday. She ruled that Rio was legally justified when he fired 2 shots from his service revolver into a vehicle driven by 42-year-old Eugene Statelin, as Statelin was allegedly attempting to run Rio and Deputy Jace Dickin over.
My level of review was an analysis of whether or not criminal charges should be filed against any or all or none of the actors involved in this particular scenario. And I've concluded, based on all of the facts in the investigation, based on the videos and the statements and photographs, that the only person that should be criminally charged is Mr. Statelin.
Statelin has posted a $50,000 bond and is being monitored by a GPS device. Pabst says the Sheriff's Department will conduct an internal review.
Obviously, there's a lot of trauma involved when somebody's in a situation like this, and they want to make sure that Captain Rio's needs are met before he's, make sure that everything's all right before he comes back on duty.
The Missoula County Attorney's Office will soon set a date for a coroner's inquest into the death of Caleb Williams, who was fatally shot by Missoula Police Corporal Paul Kelly. An incident was also occurred on New Year's Eve. A 54-year-old woman was killed when the trailer of a logging truck slid into a car in the northwest Montana town of Heron. The Montana Highway Patrol says the logging truck was eastbound early Monday morning and slowing to make a right-hand turn. When the trailer slid into the path of the woman's westbound car, the woman who's from Heron died at the scene. Her name has not yet been released. The driver of the logging truck was not injured. Trooper Darlene Lee told our news partners at NBC Montana the road was snow-packed and icy. A 3-member panel of the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals is scheduled to hear 3 cases in Billings later this month on January 22nd. The Chief Judge of the 9th Circuit, Sidney Thomas, has his chambers in Billings and will hear arguments in the cases along with Circuit Judge Morgan Christen of Anchorage, Alaska, and Senior Circuit Judge Michael Daley Hawkins of Phoenix. The cases involve appeals of decisions made by federal judges in Montana. In one case, a man is contesting his convictions on drug and firearms charges. In another, a woman seeks to continue a wrongful discharge lawsuit. And in a third, 2 environmental groups are seeking to prevent the use of a helicopter to make repairs to a dam in a wilderness area. Missoula City fire crews are waiting in line to receive specialized training this spring to handle the potential challenge of fighting a fire on a train potentially carrying crude oil from the Bakken Formation. Chief Jason Deal says fighting such a fire in downtown Missoula would be extremely dangerous for all involved.
Our first priority would be life safety and making sure the area was evacuated. And then secondly, we'd be dealing with protecting exposures, and whether they be nearby structures or other tanks.
Deal says the fire department's response would depend on the severity of the fire.
If we had a relatively small fire, you could focus on extinguishing it, but like what happened in North Dakota and in Quebec, it's basically you're going to just have to let it burn itself out.
Deal says his crews train on a regular basis with Montana Rail Link and that the department has an excellent relationship with the company. In a press release, Montana Rail Link said their traffic contains less than 1% crude oil, while 29% is coal, 70% spread out between industrial products, grain, and other products. Montana's high school graduation rate has risen to 85.4%, the highest point since OPI began calculating the rate back in the year 2000. The number from the 2013 to 2014 school year marks the 4th consecutive year in which the graduation rate has increased. Superintendent of Public Instruction Denise Juneau announced the numbers yesterday at a Capitol News conference. The Missoula International Airport's reporting that 2014 was a banner year. Deputy Director Brian Elstad says the airport saw more passengers last year than ever before.
2012 was our previous record, but over last year was about a 12.4% increase from 2013. Yeah, we had 667,000 passengers utilize both inbound and outbound from the airport.
Elstad said the main cause for the increase, the addition of a new carrier.
We're just always out there talking to our airlines, but getting a Frontier Airlines hub carrier, a low-cost carrier, that always stimulates traffic. So that was a big part of it.
In 2014, the Missoula International Airport outpaced its previous record by over 62,000 passengers. Yesterday, Montana Congressman Ryan Zinke appeared on Talkback from his office in Washington, and he slammed the Obama administration for failing to make an appearance at the Unity March in Paris on Sunday. The march, of course, in response to a series of terrorist attacks in France, but no high-profile U.S. officials were in attendance.
Well, there's a difference between rhetoric and action speaks louder than words. And when this administration doesn't take ISIS seriously, I think it fuels terrorist acts. And certainly France is our oldest ally. The president had mentioned that, yet doesn't send anyone to stand, with our allies.
Zinke also criticized the Obama administration for being unwilling to label the enemy as radical Islamic terrorists and said that U.S. foreign policy needs to change.
And I believe under this administration, our foreign policy is one of our allies no longer trust us. Our enemies no longer fear us. And as a great nation, we also have a great responsibility. You can't separate power with responsibility. And we need to lead from the front, rather than pushing from the rear if we push at all.
One of the changes Zinke is pushing for is increased logistical support and aid to the Kurds and specific Sunni tribes currently fighting against ISIS. 2 Jefferson County men have been fined and lost their hunting, fishing, and trapping privileges for 2 years for trespassing and poaching 2 bull elk. The Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks Department says 46-year-old Mark Niemeyer of Basin and 52-year-old Matthew Bergen of Boulder were sentenced recently by Teton County Justice of the Peace Pete Howard. Bergen was fined $135 for trespass in order to pay $8,000 at restitution. Emer was fined $135 for trespass and $1,000 for restitution. Our News Talk time now is 6:10.
Newstalk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Be on the lookout for some patchy fog this morning in the Missoula Valley. Otherwise, should expect the morning commute to be uneventful, with a high of right around 32 this afternoon. I'm meteorologist Matt Gray for KECI 13, your First Alert station.